Thank you so much. It's our distinct honor now to introduce the Commandant of the United States Coast Guard, Admiral Kevin Lunday.
Pending Senate confirmation, Admiral Lunday has been selected to assume the duties as the 28th Commandant of the Coast Guard. So we wish him well in his confirmation hearings and the rest of the process. Admiral.
Thank you, Thank you. Hey, good evening, everyone. What an amazing night tonight here at the Coast Guard Foundation dinner in Washington, D.C. Thank you so much for being here and for your amazing generosity for the foundation. Good evening, Chairman Ezell, Mr. Planky, our Master Chief Petty Officer of the Coast Guard, Heath Jones, and his lovely bride, our Ombudsman at Large, Ms. Carol Jones, our Acting Vice Commandant, Admiral Peter Gautier, and his lovely wife, Rosa, for Admiral Thad Allen, for our 23rd Commandant of the Coast Guard, for all of our senior leaders that are here, all of our members of our Coast Guard family, our men and women, and their families that are joining us this evening. For our Coast Guard Foundation that is here, thank you for all that you do, from Susan and Tom and your leadership of the Board of Directors, to all of the members and all the donors that make the important work and contributions to the readiness of the Coast Guard possible. Thank you for all you do. For nearly 235 years, the American people have depended on the Coast Guard as a powerful instrument of economic prosperity and national security. As the nation faces increasingly dangerous and complex threats from a variety of actors that would seek to do us harm, the American people depend on the Coast Guard now more than ever before. Under the leadership of President Trump and Secretary Noem, a new chapter for America's Coast Guard is beginning. With our ships, our aircraft, our boats, our technology, and our 55,000 strong Coast Guard men and women of our active and reserve, of our civilian employees, and our 21,000 auxiliary volunteers and their families. We are delivering results for the American people, and we are on our path to renew the service that the Secretary talked about earlier tonight. Today, we are controlling, securing, and defending the U.S. borders and maritime approaches, starting at the southern border where we have a national emergency, and extending to all of our borders, including Alaska, Hawaii, our 3 territories in the Pacific, and the 2 in the Caribbean. We're facilitating commerce, which is vital to the lifeblood and economic prosperity of our nation. We're doing that by protecting our ports and our waterways in both the physical domain and in cyberspace as part of rebuilding America's maritime dominance. And we are ensuring the Coast Guard remains ready to respond to any crisis or contingency. Now, there's a lot of work going on with restoring America's maritime dominance, and we're working closely with members of industry, including our shipbuilding industry on the Gulf Coast, where the next generation of Coast Guard cutters are already being built today. In fact, a new cutter just joined the fleet when the Coast Guard cutter Storis just sailed from the Gulf Coast and is now our nation's 3rd polar icebreaker. She'll be commissioned in Juneau, Alaska in early August. And we're excited to increase our nation's icebreaking capability. All this comes at one of the most consequential times in our Coast Guard's history, probably the most consequential time in the last 100 years. Under Secretary Noem's leadership, the Coast Guard will transform itself under Force Design 2028 into a more agile, capable, and responsive fighting force to serve the American people today and into the future. Through Force Design 28, we'll transform how we function, how we operate, and how we deliver services into the future. Now, the key to our success has always been and will always be our men and women, our people. They're extraordinary. They're the best this nation has. You know, tonight you've met some of them. Petty Officer Fair stood up here and delivered a speech that was better than anyone. And she and other members of the Stone and the James crew are just an example of the amazingly talented people that join and serve in our Coast Guard. They are the cornerstone of our readiness. And on that cornerstone, the readiness of their units, of the entire Coast Guard, is built. And the Coast Guard Foundation and the work that you do every day ensures the readiness and strength of that cornerstone. Now, day in, day out, your support provides resiliency programs, scholarships, other support, fitness equipment and playground equipment that our families and our personnel need. It makes a difference. But it's when tragedy strikes or crisis hits for that family, as you saw in the video, that the foundation makes the most difference. And it happens at the individual level for our members and their families. And just as we save lives, the foundation saves lives. You are in the life-saving business. That is the impact you have on our young men and women and our families. As I scan the horizon tonight and look forward, I am filled with certain hope for the future. Because there's one thing I know. In our service's nearly 235-year history in times of peace and war, this is true. If you take any well-trained and well-led and ready Coast Guard crew, and they have the strong support of the American people and the Coast Guard Foundation, there is nothing we can't accomplish. Thank you for all you do. Semper Paratus, and may God bless our United States.